going to be learning how to make the Clawbot. This is going to be part 1 out of multiple videos. Today we're going to be focusing on the chassis. What you first are going to want to do is you are going to make a folder called Clawbot, and inside that Clawbot you will make the Clawbot chassis. You will also need to make a new folder and title it Parts. Next, you're going to want to go to Mr. Post Canvas page. You will click on the Clawbot component files and a Clawbot instruction manual in order to build the bot. First, you're going to go here and you are going to have the Clawbot build instructions open. This is all you're going to need to do for now, but you are going to want to click this to make it full screen. Next, you're going to go to the Clawbot Google Drive folder. This has the parts, the assembly, the Clawbot, the other Clawbot, and the Clawbot instructions. We do not need the Clawbot instructions as we have it right here. But you will need to download all of these folders with the parts in them. For this part, you will only need the wheels, the steel structure, the shafts, the nuts, the connectors, and the shaft hardware. Once you do this, you will need to upload all of these into the folder. How I suggest doing it is minimizing this screen, moving it down, pressing upload, and drag each of the folders into the drag and drop here button. Sometimes it will glitch and you will not get all the parts you need. If this happens, you will simply reopen this box and re-put in the folder. Next, you will want to click upload and wait for all of these to upload. Next, we will be going step by step and building this chassis. Creating the chassis for the Clawbot. To do this, we are going to open up the Clawbot build instructions and we are going to scroll down to step 1. Step 1 requires the U channel, which is, so we will quickly bring the U channel, enter it into the current design. Before you enter it, you need to save. It does not matter where you save it. I do suggest saving it in the Clawbot folder, as this makes it much simpler to access. Next, you will double click that and press insert into design. You will open up that drop down by double clicking, and you will just move down and insert to design. For now, we will look at the position of this, and you can see it is flipped over on its side. So we will take this button and we will drag it over so it is on its side. After we do this, we will look back to see what other parts we need. We need another U channel, and instead of finding it again on here, we will simply select it, Command C, and Command V. This will mean we have another one in the exact same position, and all we need to do is drag it over. I suggest dragging it over for a start of 150 millimeters, but this will change once we add the angle piece. As you can see here, next piece we need is a simple angle piece. We will go here, grab the angle piece, it's a 14 by 20, and we will insert into the design, just as we did the U channel. After this, we will simply rotate it until it is the right rotation. Next, we will check here and we will see that it needs to be placed 3 spots. Then we will drag it, we will select top view and drag it until it's in the right place, just like as some may see a Lego set. The U channel will have to be moved just a bit more to the side, but we can do that just by dragging it over. After this, we will click this button to change the view, and we will simply drag it down to where it's even and where it's supposed to go. Next, we will simply press the home button, or we can use the orbit tool to orbit around. Then we will see we need this piece, a nut, and a 0.375 inch screw. I suggest finding the screw first. And here it is. DUP just means duplicate. That means I have 2 in this folder. I will then grab it, I will align it how it's supposed to be. Then I will use then I will select it again. I will use Orbit tool to find it. I will select it, and I will use the Align tool to move it right about where it's supposed to be. It is supposed to be right here. And as you can see, it moves right there. Next, we will press Capture Position and OK. Then we will use the Zoom tool to zoom in, to move this around a bit and just make sure it gets really exactly where it's supposed to be. After this, we'll look see what other pieces we need. Looks like we need this piece, and we will scroll through this until we find it. I found it right here. It is a 4-post Hex Nut retainer. This is a duplicate, as it says DUP. I have the second one right there. They're the exact same piece. It does not matter where it goes. Once we get this, we will rotate it to where it's supposed to be. And as you can see, it's supposed to be on its side. We will press Enter. Make sure it's exactly 90 or else it might look a little funky. Then we will select it. Press S, search up Align. And then we will align it with the screw. We'll need to flip it and press OK. And then we are going to have to adjust by using the move tool. We will have to adjust it exactly how it is supposed to be. We might have to move it a bit more just to make sure it is exactly where it's supposed to be. What I suggest doing is really zooming in to make sure you get it perfect. I suggest using the box tool, as this is a really great way to move around. And once you get that exactly where it's supposed to be, make sure this is perfectly flush. And there you go. That is that. We look back, the next piece we need is the nut. We will scroll up and we will select the Hex Nut. Enter into the current design. As you can see, we will rotate it just like we've done with everything else. To rotate, we'll select 2-finger click, press Move/Copy, and then we will drag, and then we will use angle, we will rotate, then we will double click again, press S, search up Align, and use the Align tool to align it up perfectly with the screw. Make sure that From is selected as the Hex Nut and To is selected as the screw. If you ever mess up, press the Undo button and that should fix your problems. As you can see, it is around where it's supposed to be, but it is not exact. So we will have to use the Move tool, the Rotate tool, and the Move tool again to make sure it gets exact. Just to make sure, you will want to make sure you get to the bottom view. You want to make sure this is exactly even with the nut. As when you're building this, making sure it is perfectly even is going to be one of the most important parts. Now that we did this, we are going to do the same thing to the other side. As you can see, it says in the instructions. You're ready for step 2. Step 2 says we're going to be doing the same thing, but instead of 3 parts away, you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, and so a very simple solution is going to be Command C and Command Ving this piece, turning it around, and then using this to drag exactly where it's supposed to go. As you can see, you have to put it 138 to get it exactly where it is supposed to be. After this, you are going to be using the same process you used on these to add these. But to make this a little bit simpler, you can go in the back angle, choose one of these pieces, Command C, Command V, and move it the same amount this direction as the other one. As I remember, the correct distance is going to be 127 millimeters. Then we will select the screw, Command C, Command V, and move it the same 127 millimeters. Then we will go to the bottom and drag this right here so we can select the nut. We'll Command C, Command V the nut, and move it the same 127 millimeters. Once this is complete, you'll press the home button and you will do the same thing to this side. Things we have been needing, except we're going to add a U channel. To add the U channel, we are going to find it on this bar. It's going to be the same C channel we used earlier, and we're going to click it with 2 fingers and press Insert into Current Design. Once we do this, we're going to rotate it the way we want it. Just like that. Make sure it's 90 degrees so it's not a weird angle. And make sure it's 90 degrees again, and we're just going to bring it up a bit. It does not have to be perfect quite yet, but we're just going to bring it up a bit. Then we'll be using the Align tool. We're going to be aligning. We're going to be pressing. We're going to use the Orbit tool to face this way. Then we'll be from there. That's going to be aligned with there. Might take a bit to get it exactly where it's supposed to go. Does not have to be perfect, but as long as it is close enough, it is okay. Then you'll press OK, and you're going to have to, if you mess up again, you're going to drag it just right there. Then we are going to be using this tool to face exactly right there, and we're just going to lower it right to where it's supposed to be. Then we're going to go back to the top, make sure the holes are still aligned, as this is going to be the most important part. Then, just like before, we're going to be using copy and paste to make sure to get the rest of the pieces in. We will first copy and paste this piece, and this time we'll be going from the bottom. We're going to paste it right there. It should be. Then we're going to switch to 30, and we're going to find the exact distance between the two. Looks like the number is 39. We'll do the same with the nut. Switch this distance right here to 39. And then we'll select the screw if it's possible. We'll press Command C, Command V. We'll move this yet again. -39. This will mean all of this is perfectly aligned, just like this one. Now, you'll be wanting to do the same thing to the other side. But before I do that, those are the first 3 steps of the Clawbot chassis. Feel free to move ahead and skip to the part of the video and if you get stuck, skip to the part of the video that you were stuck on. But I will still be going step by step what to do. Step 4. Step 4, you will need 2 bearings, another 3.75 inch screw, and 2 more nuts. To do this, we are going to simply start with the bearings. To start with the bearings, we will search here until we find the bearings. Here is the bearings we'll be needing, right here. We will simply click with 2 fingers, press insert into current design, and there it is. Now, before we can move where it's supposed to be, we need to make sure this is all the way flipped over. Once this is all the way flipped over, and if this is getting too long, I suggest pressing this button, as it will condense it. But once this is flipped over, we will simply move to position. As you can see, just as the Lego set, the middle part is being 2 from the side, which means it will be a total of 1 space from the side. Now, we can use the orbit tool to get the same angle as in the image in order to make sure this is exactly where it's supposed to be. Once this is where it's supposed to be, we're going to simply change the angle, line this up here, and then move it just like that. Now that we have this one in place, we need to put the screw and the nut on. To put the screw on, we will simply grab the 3.75 inch screw, enter into the current design, and we will use the align tool. We will do this piece right even with the part right here. Once this is here, we will simply press cancel. We will drag it right to where it's supposed to be. And it is supposed to be in the middle one. Just like that. Then we'll just simply go in this order and make sure it is exact. And just like that, we're on to the nut. We'll simply grab the nut, enter it into current design, and put it right where it's supposed to go, right there. Then we'll simply change the angle, make sure it is exactly where it's supposed to be. This is also a great opportunity to make sure that bearing is exactly where it's supposed to be as well. Once this is done, we finish this exact side, and we can do the exact same on the other side. This chassis. Now, just a reminder, you can go ahead and skip through and do them on your own if you feel like you have a gist of what you're doing. But if you get stuck on any part, feel free to skip back to that part, and I can walk you through it. I will still be doing step by step, so if you want to continue watching this video at this pace, that is perfectly fine. But now we are on step 5, and we will need the same pieces as last time, which means we can just copy and paste them from their original position. Now, if we scroll here, we can kind of put this in the angle we want it. I already did this side, but you will need to do both. I'm just gonna show you how to do one, and you can do the other one on your own. But you're going to Command C this and Command V. You're going to twist it around, and you're going to put it simply where it goes. I suggest zooming in, making sure you get exactly where it's supposed to be, just to make sure before you finalize this CAD. Making sure it's exact is very important when you start building, and if you participate in the Vex Robotics program for your engineering notebook and logging everything you do. Once you get the screw, you're going to simply do the nut, and the nut does not need to be rotated. Simply put it where it's supposed to be. Click the home button, and step 5 is done. Make sure you do it on the other side though as well, as we are going to be using these shafts. We will simply find which shaft length is the 2500-124. So I suggest scrolling up here and look for 2500-124, which is right here. These are the big ones, which means the biggest size in this CAD file will be the one you use. Now if you scroll back to number 6, I suggest first orientating it the exact way they have it in the video, just as you would a Lego set. Once this is done, you are going to grab the shaft and put 3 of the bearing flats. These are the ones without the block on the end, and you will put it in the position as shown. I suggest doing this first, as it will help stabilize the shaft. Looking to where it's supposed to be, it looks like the center is 3 out. So you will simply come here, insert the flat bearing, and you will bring this to the correct spot on the robot. Always double check with the instructions that where you're putting it is correct, as that is probably one of the most important parts of the entire build. If you mess up one part, you could mess up the entire thing. Once you get it a correct estimate, you can also use the align tool like we have before to get it roughly where it's supposed to be. But once you have a rough estimate, you can go ahead and drag it exactly where it's supposed to be. As you can see, the farthest one is going to be the one that the axle goes through, and the axle, what the axle goes through is going to be right there. So you're going to continue to line it up. Make sure you line it up perfectly, as this is going to be the most important part. Once this is done, you have to put it at the exact same spot on the other side. This is fairly simple. All you have to do is Command C and Command V. Rotate. You always want to rotate first, as all you have to do now is just move it just a bit. I want to make sure this is exactly where it's supposed to be. Then you need to add the shaft. As you can see, we have a 3-inch, a 3.5, and a 4. As stated earlier, you will need the biggest size, which is the 4. Then you will need to position this just how you're supposed to, like that, and like that. Now that is perfectly straight, you are going to insert it through the 4th hole. Once you do this, you will simply add a stopper on the end, which will stop the rubber shaft collar, is what it's called. You double finger click, press insert into design, and just move it to where it's exactly on the end. Then you want to move the axle. In order to align this rubber shaft collar, you can use the align tool, and you can simply move it exactly where it's supposed to be. You will press OK, but then you will have to manually drag it as it is not always perfect the first time. You will also need to rotate it 90 degrees and then pull this shaft collar until it's about right there. After this, do the same thing to the other side, and step 6 will be complete. And step 7 and step 8, but because we are not going to focus on adding motors, and that will be part of the last step, we will be skipping this part. So our real next step is step 12, where we are going to be adding the wheels. To add the wheels, we will need 0.375 inch spacer, 2 rubber shaft collars, and 2 inserts to the wheels. We will also need the wheel itself. Now, step 12 and 13 are the same steps but on different size. So I will show you one side and you guys will be challenged with doing the other side on your own. To do the other side, we will be taking the 0.375 inch nylon spacer, clicking with 2 fingers, pressing insert into design, and simply adding it to the bot. To do this, I am going to use the align tool, as I believe it is the faster way to do it. And I'm going to press capture position and undo as I just messed up. You'll press align, you will click this because you will want to align this. You will align it with that, and as you can see, it goes into position. Once this is in position, you are going to make sure that it's exactly where it is supposed to be by using the drag feature. And then you will be going back here. I suggest zooming in to see exactly what you're going to be doing. And you're going to need a high strength insert, is what they are called. And actually, we have it built into our wheels, so we will not need those. We will rotate the wheels. Wheels are always a bit challenging to rotate, as they have a different formula than most things in Fusion 360. So we will rotate till it's perfectly straight. And when you are selecting this component, you will need to come down. You'll need to come down and press 4-inch wheel, and you will need to select move and copy, as this leads to you being able to drag it around. After this, you are going to simply rotate and make sure it goes exactly where it's supposed to be. As usual, you can always use the align feature, but as I would like to show you both ways, I did drag this time. Once you have this on, you are going to be using these rubber shaft collars, and you will be copying and pasting them and putting them simply on the end. You will need to put 2 on the end, but you would like to align the first one first, as this will make the second one a lot easier. Once you do this, you will simply copy and paste it one more time. And put it exactly where it is supposed to go. As I've said many times, putting it exactly is the most important part of Fusion 360. Once this is done, you can close up this window, and you have completed step 12. Now, as step 13 is the same thing, I would like to challenge you of doing that on your own. Wire a 3-inch axle and simply a rubber shaft collar. To do this, we are simply going to flip to the exact orientation that this is. As you can see, this orientation is simply like this, roughly about that, and we are going to grab the 3-inch shaft, insert into current design. Once you do this, you will rotate this over to 90 degrees. Once it's at 90 degrees, you will move it to the correct spot, which is right here. And I suggest going to the back view simply to move this here. You could use the align tool, which would be a lot faster, but as we have already learned how to use the align tool, I will show you the drag. Once you do that, you will simply come grab the rubber shaft collar and you will insert into the current design. This Untitled right here is just this, and you will put this in here. The Untitled is the Clawbot itself. For me, you should put yours in a different place. Once I have this, I will go to the bottom view just to make sure this is right where I want it. This also gives me another chance. As you can see, I mounted my bearings the wrong way. So, once I get this exactly where it's supposed to be, I will press enter, and I will simply move around this bearing. A simply 180-degree turn does the trick, and now it's lined up. As you can see, that is all for step 14. Step 16, you will be doing the same thing to the other side. So I would suggest pausing the video and going ahead and working on that other side. By other side, I mean, as you can see on the bottom, we just completed this on this side, and you will need to do the same on this side. The Omni wheels. We will need a 0.375-inch spacer. The wheels come with the insert, so we will not need to change that. And 2 rubber shaft collars. It is the same on both sides. I will show you one side, but you will be tasked with doing the other side on your own. We will start with dragging this farther out so we have more room for our Omni wheel. And then we will grab the 4-inch Omni wheel from here. But before we do that, we need the spacer on there. We will insert the spacer into the current design, just like we've done all the others. And we will use the align tool. And we will align this right there with this axle. This puts it right on it, and you will press OK, enter. Once this happens, I suggest zooming in on it and making sure it is exactly where it is supposed to be. It might look like it is exactly where it's supposed to be, but as it is here, you might be able to move it out just a bit more. Once this happens, you will grab the Omni wheel, insert into the current design, and once it is in the design, you will move it over here. If you accidentally click off of the move, you will have to come over here, select this 2-finger click it, and you will have to press move/copy. Once you do this, you will simply move it exactly where it is supposed to go. Once it is there, I suggest moving to the back view, making sure it is aligned perfectly. As you can see, because I didn't click it the entire thing, only half of it dragged, which means I have to come over here, select the 4-inch Omni wheel, move/copy, and move it to where it is right there. After I do this, all I will need is the 2 rubber shaft colors on top. As we have had it before, we have the rubber shaft color right here from last time, and we will simply Command-C, Command-V, capture the position, and we will move it exactly where it's supposed to go, right there. Once we do this, we'll move it even further back, as it needs to be exact. After this, we will Command-C, Command-V, move it right there. Press enter, and there you have it. Next, you will be doing the same thing you did with this Omni wheel on the other side. I will not be doing that for you. You will be tasked with doing that by yourself. About chassis. Once this is complete, you are going to be done. In future videos and parts of this Clawbot, we will be discussing making all of the other sections, such as the electronics with the brain, battery, and the motors, the arm, and the claw. Press the save button, and you press OK to make sure that this is saved and it is not lost. Now, in order to show you what CADing stuff like this can do, we have been CADing our entire drivetrain. It's very similar way to this in our Vex Robotics Club. And after a long time working on it, this is what we have so far. It is not nearly complete, but we are working on it, and it really shows all of the Fusion 360 attributes as we've made lines, used extrudes, appearances, joints even. We've used a line, we've used a line tool, we've used almost every single tool on this little part of the robot here. So Fusion 360 can really take you places and really help you in 3D designing, not even just Vex Robotics related, but it can also really help you design small projects, phone cases, simple 3D printing stuff. It is a very useful tool for all of the people who use it, and I really hope you are able to take advantage of this amazing resource that is here for you. That is all for this video. See you guys later.